Hey everyone, welcome to my first cooking video. I've been cooking a long time, never made a video. Post often pictures of my food and I talk about it, so I figured it'd be cool to make a video. One of the things that I like to do, super easy, anyone can do any of these things that I do. No one's special, everyone can cook. You just gotta do it. And you gotta make mistakes and then learn from them, just like life. So, I make chicken tenders. My kids love chicken tenders. I hate buying store-bought chicken tenders filled up with sodium, all sorts of wonky stuff. You don't know what's in them. And they're just not as good as a fresh homemade chicken tender. So I like to make them, and I freeze them, put them in a bag in the freezer. And it's a quick and easy meal when I need it. You could do, chicken parm subs, regular chicken parms. You could turn it into an Asian chicken dish, regular chicken tenders, on top of a salad. Pretty easy to heat up after the fact. With that being said, that I like to do, or I try to do, is, even though I've got gloves on both hands, is only touch it with one hand if I can. Just eliminates some of the opportunity for cross-contamination. You got a little, there you go. Right, sometimes there'll be a little like a piece of cartilage right back there. Just take that off. Trying to figure out where this camera's looking right now. Now I've got all of the tenders off. So everyone knows the shape of a chicken breast, right? It's like a wing. I don't know what the hell you call that. Anyways, it's significantly fatter up here than it is down here. So I like to cut these little suckers right like that. And that helps me make my cuts a little more uniform. So then I'll cut these guys, right? Leave it like that. These, I make almost more like a chicken nugget. Right? They're all a lot more the same thickness. They'll cook a lot better, more evenly. Now you can just leave them like that. That would be fine too. I just got into this thing recently where I like cutting them into like little nuggets. So that's that. We're done with the knives, I think. And I'm gonna clean this stuff up and I'll be right back. All right, so I've got all my chicken cut up. I like to season my chicken, and I like to season the flour, and I season the panko a little bit. I'll tell you what I use. It's not an exact science by any means, but you can use whatever you want. You can use Old Bay, adobo, complete seasoning, but I like to have a little more of a blank canvas. Canvas got some flavor, but so I can change it into whatever I want, whether I want to make a barbecue or buffalo or Asian inspired, or it'd be good with marinara. So I try to keep it kind of basic so I can utilize it for many different things. So some oregano, I usually hit it up with chicken, not too much, right? Not too much. Some of it's probably just like pet peeve too, probably doesn't really do anything. Some chili powder, maybe like a tablespoon in each of them. I really don't know how much flour this is. I never make enough. I always end up having to make more in the middle of it. And panko breadcrumbs. I always use panko breadcrumbs. That makes a humongous difference. The chicken, I do about 2 tablespoons of garlic powder in the chicken itself. A little more in the panko than the bread, than the flour. Onion powder, about a table. Smoked paprika. I got about 2 tablespoons in the chicken. You know, maybe split another tablespoon and a half between the other 2 things. Salt. I use sea salt generally. Season it up good. And black pepper. Now, as much spices as I can do fresh, I do. Black pepper, I'll always grind fresh. I toast my own cumin, fennel, all that good stuff as well. But it makes a humongous difference. And it's super simple, right? I'm gonna do this pretty fine, just so it spreads throughout. My kids don't like, and my wife doesn't either, like getting big chunks of black pepper. So, it's pretty fine. We'll put that on the chicken, and then we'll do it, flour mix. I think that's it. I'm probably gonna forget something. I'm gonna mix this little buddy up. It has a little like red tinge to it maybe, but it's not overwhelming. Really, the chicken has the most. It's not gonna get burnt off and stuff in there. You know, and I feel like it absorbs the most flavor when you season the chicken directly, rather than just the breading. So, I got a little workstation set up. You're always supposed to try to keep one hand wet, one hand dry so you don't get lumps. Most of the time I just end up going willy-nilly, but I try. And then I have a tray that I'm gonna put the finished product on before we pan it up to cook it in the oven. So, you remember we cut chicken tenders? Then we got little nugs, right? And then we got like some long, like thinner ones. You know, and I do it like that. They take different times to heat up and to cook, so I may pull them out of the freezer, you know, if my youngest is like super hungry and like, I gotta get to it right now, I'll grab one of the thinner ones, you know, pop it in there, just so it gets done quicker. But whatever. So, you dredge in some flour. See, look at that, I already did it. Dredge in the flour. I didn't even mix up these eggs. So I had to whisk up these eggs because they weren't whisked in that original footage. I might not even use it, so you might not even know. But I've got my chicken, my flour, egg wash, breadcrumbs. So you want to try to keep one hand dry, one hand wet. Right? So we dredge them in the flour, shake them off, throw them in the egg. Same, drain off any of the excess. And kind of just throw them in here and bury them. Nice and coated, bring them out. Ah, you saw that? Used the wrong hand. Now I got two wet hands. See there? Again, that's the worst thing that happens. I just have some battery hands. So, finally done doing the breading. Look at all them chickens. There's a lot of chicken right there. It's a lot of chicken. I cleaned up countertop before you get moving on with the next step. So, we are ready to plate these suckers up. I get sheet trays with like baking cooling trays or whatever the heck they are. Something to keep them lifted up above the tray a little bit. So I've got it preheated to 350. As you can see, there's a pretty good amount of space in between the two racks. If they were right on top of each other, the item on the bottom rack would not brown. And I kind of want it to brown. Though this first little go around is really, we're not par baking them because we're baking them all the way through, but we're not gonna like crunch them up too hard because we'll do that when we reheat them. I reheat them in the oven at 375, but we'll get to that. Right. So I'm only gonna glove up one hand because I'm only gonna use one hand. So I like to spray the grates just to help them not stick. And then I'll end up spraying the chicken too. So I like to put like light size pieces on the same tray so that they cook at a fairly similar ratio. It's like I have adult pieces and then kid pieces. We got some big old chunkers up in there. But you see, even those little chunks, I mean, that's like a nugget. That's a straight up nugget, you know? That's a little chunk of chicken right there. Ain't nobody gonna complain about that, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, you can do whatever you want with them. Whether you turn them into buffalo nuggets, sweet hot chili nuggets, you know, barbecue nuggets, like a sweet Asian teriyaki type nugget or something.
Some big old chicken tenders right there, boy. Some big old chicken tenders right there, boy. Some big old chicken tenders right there, boy.
And that's your traditional chicken tender. So these are ready to go. Oh no, they're not ready to go into the oven. So I'm gonna spray the tops of these suckers with some oil, just because we're not frying them. This just helps them get a little bit of color. Bam! Off into the oven we go. All right, so I got these in a 350 oven. As you can see, there's a pretty good amount of space in between them. We're gonna let these rock out for about 15 minutes and see how they look. Yeah, we're good. All right, so one side is definitely not as brown as the other. But what I do a lot of the times, if you can even tell when you're going to reheat them, which most of the time you can tell, I'll leave the side that's not as brown on top. Let's see if we can compare these. You know, that was the first batch, that's the second batch. First batch is still fine, nothing wrong with it. But as you can see, this one's gonna hit. You know, you really want it to be as close to 165 as you possibly can get it, because you don't want to overcook it. And even this one, look at how light that one is. Still, you're cranking 170. So, I would say 20 minutes, 350, convection if you can possibly help it. I said, I don't know.
Alright. So I've said calibratable. I've tried to say calibratable like 4 times.
So a calibratable thermometer is the best because you can keep it accurate and on point. We're gonna have some of these tonight. I'm gonna freeze some of them. I've already put some aside to cool down.
All right.
Now we are going to get these things set up to freeze. As you can see, I have them lined out. I have these cool little plastic trays. You can use anything. Parchment paper is spectacular. I actually bought some wax paper on accident a long time ago, so I hardly ever use it. If the chicken tenders are cool, which they really should be before you put them in the freezer anyways, wax paper is okay for me. If they are hot and you put them on wax paper, I feel like you can taste a little bit of that and it's weird. So, parchment paper preferred, because hot or cold, it rocks. Otherwise, if they're cold and you happen to buy wax paper for some stupid reason, and you need to get rid of it, just go ahead and use it for this.
Make sure them tenders are cold.
All right, so I'm gonna put a layer in between, then I'm just gonna stack these guys all up on here. And as many layers as I need to, or as I can fit in my freezer. All right, so we're gonna do another one even. So we're doing them like this so that they don't stick together, right? We're gonna freeze them separately. And then when they're frozen, we're gonna put them together in a bag. That's what it's gonna be like.
I'm gonna spray the soap hat mat. I usually don't use tinfoil. I usually use a soap hat mat. I do give it a little bit of juice. Nothing crazy. And then I put the more brown side down. So you can see some of these are pretty drastic. Some of them not so much. But no matter what, the darker side I always put down. I like the soap hat mats. You know, everything has its purpose. Foil kind of browns things a little bit more, conducts a little bit more heat. And then I spray the tops of these guys with some oil, so it kind of fries it.
We've sprayed the tops with some oil, so that way it kind of crisps it up, since we're not like deep frying it. We got to give it something to conduct some of that heat, make it nice and crispy, you know? So we're gonna pop it in a 375 oven. And I actually don't preheat it. I just throw the suckers in there, right? It's at 165 right now. I'm gonna set the timer for 10 minutes. And we're gonna see how it looks. All right, so what you guys didn't see was I gave it an extra 5 minutes. So it was 15 minutes in the oven, at least 165. We got 169. Let's do a couple of them. 167. So we're good. So it was 15 minutes, 375. I started the oven. It was only about 163 when I put them in there. And I set the timer. Well, I set it for 10, but then I added a 5. So next time I just set it for 15. Like I said, I do this on a regular basis, but I just kind of wing it every time. So, by all means, find your own little tweaks and likes and do what you need to do. All right, it's been a few hours now. These suckers, they are frozen solid. Just what we're looking for. I'm gonna bag them up, throw them back in the freezer. So here's the end result. Got 2 bags. One is pretty snagged. They're both pretty stuffed up. A little bit of room at the top, but that'll help them lay flat if you can put them back in the freezer. Flat's better, but pretty much they won't stick together unless they defrost. All right, so they're all done. They're all frozen, bagged up. The way I normally like to reheat them is 375. About 15 minutes or so in the oven if they are defrosted. You can't cook them straight from frozen. Don't forget to spray them with oil when you're going to reheat them. It helps them crisp up, you know, get like fry-y without frying them. If I think enough in advance, I pull them out the night before so they're defrosted. I do like the way they heat up better defrosted, but there's no lack of days that I don't plan and they're a last minute thought, and I just pull them straight out of the freezer and pop them in the oven while we're getting everything else ready for dinner. So either way, it's all good. Love to know what you guys think of it. Let me know if you have any other ideas for things you want to see cooked or whatever, and hopefully I'll keep doing these things. Thank you guys.